Hello there and welcome to the cabin. My name is Kjetil, Lima Bravo for Foxtrot Hotel, and today I'm gonna make a follow-up video from a video that many of you probably saw for the first time on my channel, which is the capacitive hat for the whip style antennas like the JPC12, the MA12 and other antennas like that. And I'm gonna follow up especially one tip that some people gave me there, and that is that this may work really well when you're working 80 meters on these antennas. And that's because they are notoriously narrow when it comes to 80 meters or 60 meters. For that sake, you can't really tune around the band. You have to readjust your antenna. And there are parts of the band you may not be able to visit at all. So this may actually help. So I'll have a look at that. Also, it's the day after Christmas. It's December 25th here in Norway. And that means that there's 3 days since the sun turned. Daylight here is roughly 6 hours and 11 minutes. It's close to 10 in the morning here, and the sun rose roughly half an hour ago, and it's still about an hour until I can see it above the mountains here. So 80 meters is a very good band to have in your capabilities, and in summer sometimes as well, but it's mostly like a winter band. So let's see. Before we move on though, there are a few things that I mentioned in my previous video that actually turned out to be problems, possibly at least. Firstly, there's a very small Allen key that fits into this hole here for the set screw. That is gone. And I had it stored in the bag with the whip, but I've lost it somehow. Of course, that is my fault, but it is a tiny bit of kit that is so easy to miss. And if I lost that out here in the tall grass during one activation, then there's no chance I would be able to recover from that. So that's one flaw on this that turned out to be pretty true. Also, I was very afraid on how this would affect the whip because of the momentum, and I went into that quite a few times in the previous video. And on the second activation, after I used this one, the whip just snapped. I, of course, didn't have this on, but it was a calm day and I barely just pulled it down and it just bent over. And that was a whip that I had used, I think, 5 or 6 times, including the one where I had this one on it. Of course, that does not mean that this one broke it, but I've only broken one of those whips before, and that was in hurricane force winds. So it's pretty likely that that is the cause, or at least that it weakened that whip. Hopefully that will not happen with this one. It's not windy here at all today, which is why I can do this. So let's get on there. I'll first tune this up for 80 meters, and then I'll go on and put the hat on, and then we'll see how that will affect it. Does it make it wider or not? And I'll show you some plots from my NanoVNA on the way there. If you wonder how I managed to get this into the ground on a frozen day like this, well, then I didn't. I put this in before it froze over, and I'm probably not going to get that base out of the ground until the spring comes, maybe in February or March or something like this, because everything here is pretty solidly frozen now. The configuration I'm running today, this is a JPC 350 coil, meaning that it will be able to tune 80 meters on this. I have 4 links of these standard extension links. On the bottom here, I have one of those small red ground-based things. I could have used one from the JPC12 kit as well, but they do the same job. And then up here, I have a 5.6 meter whip, which hopefully I will not break today. One problem when you're working with 80 is that, well, as this is as far as I can basically stretch, so I don't have much motion up there, and then I basically have to take it down and then extend it afterwards, which I don't really like. And so this is not something I do very frequently. Also, I don't use the 5.6 meter whip very much either. And this is wobbly just by itself, so this is going to be very bad with that hat on the top there. I am going to address 2 comments that I know will come, and they are somewhat justified, and they came there on the first JPC12 video I did. Firstly, I will be tuning this standing next to it. Then I will be moving away. So I will do the coarse adjustments standing right next to it. Then I will walk away, I will double check the measurement, and then come back and do another fine adjustment. That's because I'm too lazy to do one coarse adjustment, run over there, go back, then back and forth, when you can do the same here. It doesn't affect the tune that much. It does affect it. There's no discussion that standing next to coil will affect the tune of it, but it's not that horribly much. And it is enough for a coarse adjustment, and then you go back and forth for that. Also, that is a lake, that is not salt water, meaning that putting a ground plane into that will have very little, if any, effect. So I'm looking forward to see those exact 2 comments below there, because I'm sure somebody will not have seen this. This has been outside tonight, so I'm just running it up and down a few times to get the ice scraped off it. And then I have a NanoVNA, which I need to set up. So for now, the antenna is pretty somewhat decently resonant down at 3.614. It's 1.5 to 1, but it's pretty narrow where it's actually resonant. And in Norway, I'm looking at this from 3.5 to 3.8 megahertz, which is our band, but I will see if I can do some more adjustments here. So it's at 1.050 to 1 on 3.626 megahertz. And that's not very bad, but as you can see, it is very, very steep. It's a narrow curve. So what I want to see is how that changes when I put the hat on there. Is it going to be better? And for those that are about to ask, the NanoVNA is calibrated as well. It's also not the best tool you can get, but it's more than decent enough for what I'm doing here. Ooh. So what I'm seeing here is that the whip on the top is wobbling maybe a meter to each side. And this is not good for it. The choice I do with my own money. And for those who are new here, I do buy my own stuff. I don't get this sponsored from anybody else. So that changed, of course, the diagram, but I haven't mounted it exactly the same as I had it before. So let's see if I can just shorten this slightly. So up there now, you'll be seeing the chart for how it is afterwards. I can see it now at roughly 1.1 to 1, so it's pretty much the same SWR-wise. There's a slight difference in the Schmidt chart, and it may look slightly wider than it was earlier, but that's about it. So there's no massive change. This is not something you can then run the entire 80 meter with. So it will maybe give you a few more kilohertz to work with, but that's it. So again, this is not magic. I think that wraps up this experiment. It may have a tiny bit of change on 80 meters, but it's not noticeable, at least not with this setup over here. So for me, again, this is then a no-brainer. And you also saw how much this wobbled. So it's, for me, this is going in a part spin. Maybe I'll find a use for these tiny, cute whips for something, but I'm not sure because they're only 30 centimeters long. At the end, I'd like to extend a very big thank you to everybody who has followed me over the years and everybody who has just subscribed to the channel. I'm just above 1,000 subscribers now, which is a really big milestone, and it does mean a lot for me that somebody wants to subscribe to the random weird videos I make here in Norway. And thank you very much for that. I'll keep the good content coming, I hope at least. So thank you very much for watching 7.3 and see you next time.